Hey guys, welcome back to another Airsoft review. Today we've got a pretty recent addition to the Airsoft market from ICS. This is their CXP Peleador C. Pretty lightweight, more Sportline-esque gun from ICS for right about the $200 price mark. So let's check this out. Real quick, if you guys want to win a free Airsoft gun, stick around to the end of the video to find out how. When I pulled this out of a $300 mystery box from Fox Airsoft, I was really curious. I actually haven't owned an ICS gun in quite a few years, probably about 5 or 6 years. I really like ICS. They've been around for a long time. It's actually the first Airsoft gun AEG I ever shot myself, and it's the first company I ever owned. Long time ago, like 10 plus years ago. So they've kind of got a special place in my heart just from nostalgia a little bit. And let me tell you, their newer guns do not disappoint. Their old stuff was fantastic, and so is their more current new stuff. Before we check out the Airsoft gun, let's go ahead and check out everything it comes with. Of course, like most Airsoft guns, it comes with a 300 round high capacity magazine. Kind of has like a translucent window on the side, so you can kind of see a little bit how much ammo you have left, give or take. Of course, it comes with a cleaning rod, kind of necessity for any Airsoft gun nowadays. Comes with a handguard tightening tool. This is kind of interesting. You really don't see this come with a lot of Airsoft guns, if any at all for that matter. Something you don't see come with Airsoft guns nowadays at all are spare fuses. This is kind of neat. It comes with a 20 and a 25 amp fuse, just in case your built-in one happens to fail for some reason. And lastly, you get an instruction manual. Shows you a full blow-up of the Airsoft gun, which I really like, just in case for some reason you do need to take it down and do some maintenance on it. And it comes with a little booklet showing all of ICS's current Airsoft offerings. The first thing I'm going to say about the ICS Peleador overall is that it is a little bit back-heavy. I was a little surprised. I've never actually held an Airsoft M4 that was back-heavy. I think the main point of that is it has a fully polymer M-LOK compatible handguard, which I really like, but the fact that it's got a metal buffer tube and a reasonably sized stock, it just feels more back heavy when you're holding it, which is kind of unusual. I don't mind it when I'm out playing Airsoft, but when I'm holding it sitting here in front of the camera, it just feels a little odd. Yeah, just something different, something to keep in mind. But we're going to start with this back of the gun and work our way forward. It does have a couple of quick detach sling points on the stock here, which I really do like, just in case you want to sling your gun like this or however. It's got a couple of loops here if you want to just tie a sling in as well. The battery compartment in this gun is housed in the buffer tube, and getting it off is not tough at all. So you just pull it off right there. You pull this tab down very simply. Mini Type Tamiya connector in here, and the strange way it is wired is actually very specific. It doesn't run through the buffer tube itself, it runs in some channels underneath the buffer tube, in this little kind of rib here. So kind of different. It was a little interesting to take apart, which you see a little bit of later on in the internals of this gun. So it's really meant to have a buffer tube lithium polymer battery. 7.4 volt is what they recommend. Technically, because it's got a MOSFET in here, you can run an 11.1, but I do highly recommend a 7.4. It'll really help with durability in the long run on your Airsoft gun. Of course, most Airsoft guns nowadays are coming with flip-up backup sights, which I really do like. You can use them as primaries, but I tend to put at least a dot sight on a lot of Airsoft guns. It helps a little bit, but just having backups, just in case your optic takes a BB, battery dies, something along those lines, they are very helpful. Very simple to flip up and down. Just push them up and down pretty much. The front is adjustable for elevation, the rear for windage. Now, I am very happy to say this. ICS M4s have always had the feature to, when you push the forward assist, decock the gearbox. Essentially, you push this, the anti-reversal latch has a long arm on it, and it trips that and decycles your gun. Very nice feature I've always liked. I know some of the newer ones, they've got it on the selector now, but the traditional manner that ICS does it is with their forward assist, so thankfully it is functional. Adjusting the hop-up is pretty straightforward. Pull the charging handle, and it pulls back quite a ways, the fake bolt. You've got a rotary style hop-up in there, which is the standard that ICS has been using on their M4s for a long time. They make great hop-ups, and I got really good accuracy and range out of this gun actually on the field. I was very impressed with it. It's kind of got that magic where it goes out and it just kind of floats out there and continues going a little bit farther than you expect it to. So the range was actually rather impressive. The rail system on this gun is actually all polymer, but it is M-LOK compatible. So you've got some M-LOK components. You can easily affix them to your handguard, vertical grip, rail covers. And lastly, ICS does affix a pretty big blaze orange plastic flash hider to this thing. It does go up under the rail just a little bit. Real quick, let's go ahead and open up the airsoft gun and check out the internals. Like a lot of ICS guns, they have their split version 2 gearbox in here, which they've used for many years, and it's a great design. So we're gonna check that out. The motor is your pretty standard motor. It feels like the torque is about normal. Shimming on it's pretty good. It's actually a rather tightly shimmed motor, which I do like. Not overly tight, but right about where it needs to be. It does use an O-type pinion gear, so easy to find replacements for, of course. ICS does a great job on their hop ups. The rotary hop is easy to adjust. It's got the large spring in the front of it instead of having the smaller spring on top, which I do like this design better. I feel like it puts more pressure against the gearbox. Maybe it might give a slightly better compression or air seal than a standard setup. And these newer ones are using a black aluminum barrel. As long as I can remember, ICS has been using their really pretty neat split gearbox design. Obviously, the upper gearbox goes in the upper receiver and the lower in the lower, kind of like a real steel AR-15 to some extent, or M4. So the upper gearbox is going to have some of your mechanics, your piston, of course, your air compression system, spring guide. Your lower is going to have your trigger switch, gears, and everything along those lines. Got all the screws out of the upper gearbox. You're going to go ahead and open this up. About an M100, M110 spring somewhere in there. Spring guide, basic plastic, just has a little washer on the bottom there. Air compression system here. I can pull the piston back and keep my finger on the nozzle. I can tell right offhand it's a non-ported piston head. But the air seal still is fairly good. That's why we have a nozzle that's got little cuts in it, so we can actually still pull the piston back and draw air in through there. Tappet plate, pretty normal, pretty flexible. ICS tappet plates have always been fairly decent in my opinion. The nozzle, in my experience, is a little tricky and kind of picky, so I'd personally leave the stock nozzle. It does not have an O-ring on there, but it actually fits around the cylinder head little nozzle portion fairly well. Standard piston. Second to last tooth is not removed. Non-ported O-ring, no bearing in there, so pretty standard piston head. I wish they had ported the piston head just to make it a little easier to pull back on the gears in the motor, but since it does have the notches in the front, it kind of makes up for it to some extent. So it's a matter of opinion. Cylinder head fits in the brass cylinder that is ported Ford M4 cut pretty tightly, which is rather nice. I do like that. So decent air compression setup. Really wish they'd ported the piston head, but ICS has been doing non-ported piston heads for a long time on a lot of their guns, so it's really nothing terribly new. The lower receiver on this gun is more or less what you would probably expect. Just your gears, the locking mechanism for keeping the upper gearbox in place. Now the biggest difference in this between most ICS guns from the past is that they have a little MOSFET running out the back, and it's actually rather tiny, which is pretty neat. So there's that third wire running to the trigger switch, and there's a little bit of a wiring difference there. The gears are, of course, pretty well shimmed. ICS always does a pretty good job on their shimming, which is definitely a nice touch. A lot of factory companies, their shimming can be hit or miss, but ICS does a good job. Lubrication's pretty good on the gears as well. Trigger switch is actually rather good quality. I do like it. Good contact engagement there. What are your thoughts on this thing? I'm really happy with it, actually. It's not terribly expensive. It performs just as well as the high-end ICS guns, I feel like. The accuracy and range is definitely there, and it's right about that $200 price mark. A great gun out of the box. Just go pick up a battery and a charger for it, and you'll be out the door playing Airsoft. I do have to give this gun a grade. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. The only reason it doesn't get a 10 out of 10 for me is just because it feels a little back heavy, and personally it's just a little bit off-putting, but it's such a minor thing. It's just 1 point off. It's still a fantastic gun despite that, but it does kind of, even standing here, I can definitely notice it. So 9 out of 10, fantastic grade for a fantastic Airsoft gun. Now, real quick, in the description, there's a contest you can enter that Fox Airsoft is always doing. It's a free Airsoft gun giveaway. It takes about 2 seconds to enter. Just go give them your email and they will contact you to let you know if you've won. I actually won an Ares M60 E4 not terribly long ago, just randomly. Entered once, won an Airsoft gun. Who knew? You guys could win one too. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Prodigy from Airsoft Team Kilo 23. Look forward to more Airsoft reviews in the near future, and I'll catch you guys next time.